What this woman encountered inside her own apartment was so horrifying that within moments she fled the place in absolute terror. Charmaine had been documenting a series of unsettling incidents in her home and uploading some of them to social media. As far as she was concerned, something about that apartment just wasn't right. But one particular recording captures a situation that unravels at a frightening speed. It all unfolds in the dead of night. Charmaine is jolted awake by screaming coming from somewhere outside. At first, her response seems to be little more than curiosity. She picks up her phone and makes her way to the window, probably expecting to find a street argument, a passerby, or some other perfectly ordinary explanation for the commotion. But what she sees outside doesn't fit any of those explanations.
I just woke up. I heard someone screaming outside my window. Oh my god. What? There's a guy out there and he's just staring out my window. What is he doing?
It's hard to know exactly what's going through Charmaine's mind at that moment. She stares at the figure for a few seconds without moving any closer, unable to make sense of what that person could possibly be doing out there. Then, things get even stranger. While her attention is entirely fixed on what's outside, a sudden loud crash erupts from somewhere inside the apartment, and that changes everything. Charmaine follows the noise into the bedroom and moves toward the closet. At that point, something tumbles out from within it. It could easily have been an item that wasn't sitting properly and just toppled over on its own. But given everything that had already unfolded that night, Charmaine clearly isn't buying that explanation. She decides to get out, and perhaps this is the most striking part of the whole recording. Because after bolting from the apartment and believing she had put the problem behind her, Charmaine glances back at the unit and notices something that suggests things were only just getting started.
Oh my god, I think there's something in my room. I don't know.
There appears to be movement happening inside the apartment. This leaves Charmaine confronting an even more disturbing possibility. If that truly was a person, then maybe someone had slipped inside while she was distracted. Even so, after a while, she makes the decision to head back in. But what she discovers does nothing to ease her fears. The place is in disarray. Things appear to have been shifted around. Various items are strewn across the floor, creating the strong impression that someone had been moving through the space while she was gone. At this point, the situation goes beyond being simply frightening and raises a far more serious question. Was Charmaine genuinely dealing with something supernatural, or had another person been inside that apartment? She starts searching for any kind of clue that might give her an answer, and that's when she hears a voice. Her reaction is instant. Charmaine spins toward the sound and once again comes face to face with the same figure that has appeared throughout this entire ordeal. Only this time, it's far closer than before. There's no investigation, no attempt to approach, and no measured response. Charmaine simply runs, and the footage cuts off shortly after, never fully revealing how that night concluded. It would be easy to assume the story ended there, but that's not what Charmaine claimed happened next. A few days later, she began posting new recordings from the apartment, suggesting that the strange activity had never actually stopped. And that's what makes this case so deeply unsettling, because whatever was going on that night, escaping the apartment clearly wasn't enough to leave it behind. The paranormal explorer known as Dee ventured back alone into one of the most unsettling, cursed patches of forest she had ever set foot in. Driven by the hope of documenting the cryptid said to roam these woods, she endured several nights out in the pitch-black wilderness. For long stretches, the surrounding trees stayed eerily quiet. That all changed when Dee positioned a chair along a remote woodland trail and started filming, completely unaware that something lurking just outside her flashlight's reach was slowly closing in on her.
What was that? These lights in my face are horrible. Oh, God, guys.
Heavy, rapid footsteps violently crunch through the tall grass surrounding Dee. The movement circles closer and closer until Dee panics, abandoning her chair and fleeing into the dark. While no physical form enters the flashlight beam, the sheer aggression of the noise leaves her convinced an apex predator is hunting her. Driven to investigate, Dee pushes deeper into another section of the woods later that night. And this time, the entity doesn't remain hidden in the shadows.
Fellas, I'm really trying to give you guys videos out here, but this place terrifies me to the core. But I'm fascinated with it at the same time. I'm hearing noises, dude, and I don't know if it's clicking, I can't hear it. It's like a low. Hello?
There, at the edge of the overgrown trail, a pale, hunched figure pulls itself out from behind a dense wall of foliage. The creature sports a hairless, hollow-cheeked head and bony shoulders, angling forward through the undergrowth as though fixated entirely on Dee's movements. Overcome with fear, Dee whips the camera away before the thing's full form can come into view. Those who doubt the footage point to a wild animal, a bleached tree root warped by the beam of her flashlight, or even a planted prop. Even so, given that something had already aggressively circled her near that chair just hours before, audiences were left with a deeply unsettling sense that this pale crawler had been tracking Dee through the darkness all along. So did Dee actually film a pale crawler hunting her through those trees, or was her mind betrayed by the shadows of the night? Drop your take in the comments below. What you're about to see is tied to a real and heartbreaking incident that unfolded deep in an American forest. A young girl had ventured into the woods near her house alongside a friend, and the two of them were out looking for red wildflowers when, the further they pushed into the trees, something absolutely terrifying brought everything to a halt. See what their camera captured.
I screamed to scare the demons. They would mimic your scream. That never scared me anyway. Maybe it's just a bunch of kids trying to summon demons. That from the forest we're in? Yeah. Sounds like fun. The more I listen, the less scary it sounds. The more I listen, the more scary it sounds. Oh, you got it. Yeah. I think I know what it is. I think it's a hyena.
Without warning, the girls started picking up strange, agonized screaming echoing through the trees around them. It sounded like a woman in desperate need of rescue. Overcome with fear, both girls turned and bolted straight out of the forest. Several hours passed before one of the girls finally broke down and told her mother what they had witnessed, pulling out the footage to show her. Her mother, to her credit, wasted no time and dialed the police. Officers combed through the forest and eventually tracked down a woman in a state of complete panic. Her husband had collapsed and lost consciousness. Emergency responders did everything they could, but unfortunately it was too late to bring him back. Had anyone responded earlier, he may well have survived. His wife had been out there screaming and pleading for somebody, anybody, to come for hours, and nobody did.
Sounds like fun. Yeah. So, hyena someone? No.
This is the sobering reality. Not every unsettling noise drifting through the forest signals something to run from. Sometimes that sound is a human being fighting for their life. Had those girls contacted the authorities right away, a man might have gone home that night. Late in the evening on September 2nd, 2020, a father makes his way into his daughter's bedroom after hearing her cry out in distress. He rushes over to find out what's wrong, and that's when things take a disturbing turn.
What's the matter?
I just want to sleep.
Whatever had happened in that room had left his little girl absolutely terrified. Her parents initially wondered whether she'd simply been caught in a bad dream, but they just couldn't let it go. Their child had never been this frightened before. Wanting answers, they pulled up the security footage from that night to see whether anything unusual had been recorded. Nothing jumps out at first, but once they take a closer look, something stops them cold. It becomes clear that some kind of presence had been inside their daughter's room that night. The figure isn't easy to spot right away, but according to the mother, it shows up right next to her daughter's bed. What appears to be a woman's face materializes briefly before vanishing without a trace.
Frame, and that face right there is what popped up. But here is a close-up. Right there, you can clearly see the lips, the teeth, the nose, the eye, the eyebrow, and like hair.
The parents are convinced this is exactly what sent their child into a panic. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust to it, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Even though this was recorded several years back, they've never been able to make sense of what their camera captured. It remains a mystery to them to this day. On March 8th, 2025, a woman by the name of Emma recorded something that shook her to her core. It was late at night. Emma was by herself at home watching television in the living room when she started picking up strange sounds coming from the direction of her front door. What her camera caught is right here. Unsettling, eerie noises can be heard near the front door, along with what appears to be her own voice saying, "No, you're in there," right before the door handle starts to shake. Emma went to check the windows but found no one standing outside. She figured that was that. But 6 days later, under the cover of darkness, it happens all over again.
And this is why I can't call the cops, because when I go to look, there's no one there. I know it's hard to see, but I'm not opening the door. There's like no one out there, and like this is a window. There's no people, but this is a window, and you can't really see out there. It's hard to see. So I don't know what the hell is going on.
This time, the voice turns more aggressive, demanding to be let in. Yet when Emma looks through the window, there is clearly no one on the other side of that door. With no idea what she's actually dealing with, Emma refuses to open it. Her conclusion? Whatever is out there is mimicking her. And given that these incidents seem to be occurring every couple of nights, this probably won't be the last we hear from her. In the meantime, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Here's what nobody has ever been able to make sense of. Before any of it starts, pay attention to her eyes. There's no fear there. She's focused on something completely invisible to everyone else, like she's the only one who can see it.
Okay. Put your feet in.
Ma'am, put your feet in so we can close the doors.
You're gonna close the door. You stay right there before we move. Hey,
Calm down.
hey, calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
Then her voice shifts. It goes deep, ragged, almost like it's being produced by something other than her, just for a moment. Then it's back to normal.
Hold on. Hey, get your foot back
Get
in
your
there.
foot back in there. Get your foot back in there. Ma'am.
Man, we're gonna have to tase you. You're not
I
gonna
don't
like that.
understand what you're telling me.
Two full-grown men can't pin her to that doorframe. They threaten her with a taser, and she doesn't even flinch. That's not something you see every day. Officers who've been through hundreds of arrests don't typically leave a scene looking shaken like that. Whatever happened in that minute stayed with them long after. Security camera footage captured at a residence in North Carolina has left every person living there genuinely rattled, recording something in their own backyard that none of them can make sense of. Even after replaying it numerous times, the clip opens the way it always does on an unremarkable evening. Still dim. Nothing unusual anywhere in the frame. The kind of routine shot these systems record over and over again without anyone ever feeling compelled to look twice. Then, without any warning at all, something enters the shot low to the ground. Its pale, almost washed out form standing out sharply against the surrounding darkness. And it's the way it moves that immediately signals something is wrong. Rather than standing upright, it crawls, dragging itself across the ground with a slow, calculated motion that doesn't match any creature native to a suburban neighborhood, and doesn't resemble a human being either, at least not in any way that holds up when you watch how unnaturally low and contorted its posture remains the entire time. It crosses the yard with clear intention, and rather than vanishing in a fleeting instant, the camera tracks it long enough for its form to become unmistakably visible. Pale flesh, or something that looks like it catching just enough residual light to contrast starkly with the dark around it. Its limbs bending and shifting in a rhythm that feels more wrong the longer you study it. For the family who watched that recording, the dread didn't stay locked inside the footage. Knowing that whatever this thing was had been crawling through their yard, close enough to their house to appear clearly on camera, has made every one of them hesitant to go outside once the sun goes down. far more attentive to what's beyond their windows, and far less certain about how secure their property really is now that they've seen what was out there. Nothing in the clip provides any answers about what it actually was: person, animal, or something that doesn't fit either category. It simply moves through the shot and eventually passes beyond the camera's reach, leaving nothing behind except the recording and a family that hasn't fully relaxed in their own backyard ever since. Overnight security footage from a workplace, recorded in the dead of night while every single employee on the premises was sound asleep, has emerged showing something that's left viewers profoundly unsettled, largely because of how completely vacant and silent that building was supposed to be at that hour. The clip begins the way any standard overnight recording does: low light, total stillness, an utterly motionless scene that exists more as a procedural formality than anything else, capturing nothing but an empty workspace holding its breath until morning. Every staff member from that day had been accounted for and was asleep, with absolutely no reason for any living person to be moving through those halls at that time of night. And yet, something does. A spectral figure materializes within the frame, its presence immediately setting it apart from anything that has any business being inside an unoccupied building after hours. It doesn't move the way a person moves. There's no weight to it, no natural gait, no sense of a real body navigating through physical space. Instead, it drifts, gliding across the room with a fluid, effortless quality that simply shouldn't exist somewhere that should have been locked up and silent until daybreak. It doesn't dart through and vanish in a single frame either, which is a big part of why the footage is so hard to brush aside. It lingers, traveling from one section of the workplace to another, passing through areas where equipment and furniture sit completely undisturbed, its shape staying just defined enough to register as something genuinely present. It never resolves into anything that could be written off as a camera glitch or a passing reflection of light. What it was, what drew it there, and where it went once it drifted out of the camera's range has never been answered, and the footage remains every bit as disturbing today as it was the first night anyone sat down to watch it. This chilling clip follows a group of construction workers wrapping up renovation work inside a shopping mall during the late hours of the night. Every store had already shuttered for the evening, and the entire building was devoid of customers. One of the crew members pulled out a camera to document how far along the project had come, but without knowing it, he ended up recording something none of them could explain. Pay close attention to what unfolds. Toward the back of the frame, the footage appears to show a small child, dressed in white, sprinting through the mall completely alone. The image is immediately alarming, given that every exit had been secured and not a single worker had brought a child onto the site. The figure is only visible for a matter of seconds before it vanishes entirely. When the workers reviewed the recording, they described feeling deeply unsettled, as they were absolutely convinced no child had been present in that building during their shift. Despite being shaken to their core, they pushed on with the job, though every one of them kept a watchful eye fixed on the exact spot where that mysterious figure had been seen. Alright, so Jake and Noah from Spirit Stalkers were in the middle of an investigation at Liberty High School in Ohio City when they heard what they could only describe as 7 gunshots echoing through the building. They dialed 911. Officers showed up with weapons raised, fully prepared for an active shooter scenario. What they discovered defies any rational explanation, and if you're new here, think about hitting that subscribe button before we get into it.
Homicide. Homicide. Oh my god.
No, that's a murder, dude.
Yeah.
Hours before calling police, Jake and Noah's ghost hunting equipment had been giving warnings. Their spirit box, a device that scans radio frequencies, kept repeating one word: homicide.
It is so dark in here, guys. It is so dark in here. Can you tell me something else about the school or something that I need to know? Negative! Oh my god! Are you freaking serious, dude? You gotta be joking. Why is there a negative entity here? Oh my
Yo, did you think a really loud boom?
It just said one.
Liberty High School had sat empty for decades. The 4-story structure carried one especially unsettling reputation, a punishment chamber known as the Sin Box, a cramped solitary cell where students who misbehaved were sealed inside in total darkness during the school day.
Dude, so this is the box, it's basically the press box for the gymnasium. They actually lock kids who misbehaved in this box. I can touch both walls.
Yeah.
And that's how big the room is. And you'd be trapped in here for maybe a whole class day. I'm gonna turn on the PX device. This is the first time this is being shown on our channel. This is the original Ovilus.
Yep.
So it has a word database. It reads the environment and spirits.
As the hours wore on, their gear began failing on them. Fresh batteries drained in seconds. Equipment shut down without warning. Then came the sound of footsteps sprinting through corridors that should have been completely empty.
Dude. Who are we hearing?
And then things escalated.
It finally spoke, dude! What did it say? Male! Dude. It finally spoke. It said male. Hey, Noah?
Yeah?
I'm gonna do an EVP 1 sec, okay?
Yeah.
So guys, since it just finally, this PX finally spoke, I'm gonna do an EVP session. And place it on here. Whoever's down here, if you could just speak into that device on the table, that'd be cool. Can you tell me who you are? It said rewind at the end, dude. It wants me to rewind.
Jake! Oh my god, Jake!
Was that inside?
Yeah.
Shh. Get down here now. Now get down here, dude.
No, you come with me, bro. That was on my level.
Call the cops on my phone now. Call the cops. Call the fucking cops. Call the fucking cops. Just get down. Turn the lights off.
A rapid series of what sounded like gunshots rang out from somewhere near the gymnasium level, the same floor where Noah was confined inside the Sin Box. Both investigators cut their lights and pressed themselves into the dark, listening as something seemed to test door handles and move deliberately through the structure. They got on the phone with police. 2 units were dispatched right away. Welcome back.
Here, filming a ghost video, of all things, and I was kind of standing down here in the cellar, and it sounded like it had to have been like in this parking lot, just like 7 shots. So I ran up to him, where he was up in the gymnasium, and we just heard like...
The officers swept through the building room by room, flashlights and firearms at the ready. No shell casings turned up, no shattered glass, no sign of any intruder. But while they were working through the 2nd floor, something shifted. 2 seasoned officers openly admitted that they had heard footsteps closing in on them through the blackness. When one of them swept his light down the hallway, he caught a dark shape in motion. Not human, not anything he could name, that simply vanished the moment the beam hit it. Both officers got out of there fast.
That's actually scared me. Good luck.
Damn.
The police cleared the scene. Their official report read simply, "No suspects located." When trained law enforcement officers, people conditioned to run into danger, abandon a building and leave ghost hunters behind with nothing but a good luck, it tells you something. Whatever was waiting in that darkness made its presence undeniable to 4 separate people that night. Liberty High School is still standing. The sin box is still there on the 3rd floor, and whatever calls those hallways home isn't done making itself known. A man named Bobby Box had recently gone through a pair of electric shocks and had also been living in what he believed to be a haunted apartment. While discussing the paranormal with a friend, that friend brought up something they had discovered while reviewing their security footage. Something strange that, to this day, nobody has been able to account for. At some point while the cameras were rolling, an unusual presence materialized in the hallway, roughly in the center of the frame. A dark, semi-transparent shape gradually drifted into view before moving off toward the left side of the screen. Its silhouette loosely resembled a human form, yet everything about the way it moved and appeared felt deeply unnatural. When Ronnie reviewed the footage for himself, he was completely at a loss, utterly unable to make sense of what he was looking at. So what's your take? Could this camera have recorded a genuinely paranormal event? Or is there a more rational explanation hiding somewhere in the details? Susan Murlock is a mother whose 2-year-old daughter came to her one day with something deeply unsettling to say. The little girl claimed that someone was hiding inside her closet, just watching her. Shaken by what she heard, Susan immediately went to investigate. "My daughter has told me there's someone in her closet who keeps smiling at her.
Open it. That's a person.
There's a person?
Yeah.
Can you show me where the person is?
Right here. Right here. Right here.
Is it Elsa?
No. No.
No?
I'm scared.
You're scared?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you show me where the person is? Is it a kid person or a grown-up person?
Grown-up person.
It's a grown-up person?
Elmo.
You want to wear your Elmo costume?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a grown-up person in your closet?
Yeah.
And it's right there?
Yeah. I'm scared.
You're scared?
Yeah. There's a person.
Okay.
Let's go take a look." The child is visibly terrified, completely convinced that somebody is in there. Yet, when Susan pulls the closet open, there's no sign of anyone. Some people watching noticed a box sitting inside that, if you look at it a certain way, could resemble a face. Their theory was that this might have been what spooked the little girl. Susan, however, pushed back on that idea in a follow-up video.
There is like a woman-shaped thing on the box, which is very strange. So I take the box out. I took all the clothes out of that in case that was like causing a shadow or something. So I took all the clothes out of the back of that closet. I took the box out, and she still saw the person. Oops, someone's at my door. She still saw.
So if the box wasn't the culprit, what exactly did that child think she was seeing? Susan says she ended up locking the closet door, hoping it would put an end to her daughter's nighttime crying. Apparently, it worked. The girl has been sleeping soundly ever since. Even so, Susan is keeping a close watch on that closet, just in case something unusual decides to show up again. That's a person. There's a person? Yeah. Can you show me where the person is? One evening, a man named Nick is caring for his sick grandmother when something unexpected occurs.
This happens.
Nick explains that his grandmother suffers from dementia, a condition that can sometimes cause sufferers to experience hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that simply aren't there. But as Nick watches her standing motionless, something unsettling unfolds. Pay close attention to what happens next. The dog begins growling, its gaze locked down the hallway as though it's reacting to something invisible, and then without warning, an object tumbles off the top of the refrigerator. When Nick goes to check what fell, it only makes the whole situation feel more disturbing.
So this is in response to last night. My grandma loves to collect little figurines. One of my grandma's little angels fell off the fridge last night.
Nick points out that the figurines are positioned well back on top of the fridge, so there's no obvious explanation for why the angel statue suddenly toppled. He believes there's something sinister at work, especially given that out of everything up there, it was the angel that came down. A viewer who watched the footage then noticed an additional detail that cranks up the fear factor considerably.
I wanted to show you guys something. Honestly, I'm a bit in disbelief, but no, I'm pretty sure it's just a plug-in charger. I brought my girlfriend Claire here so she can help demonstrate. But can you try to step in front of that? And so it just does that. Move away. So that comment says that the Roomba doesn't do that unless someone's in front of it. And he's kind of creepy with a smiley face and everything.
The Roomba appears to keep repeating the same slight back and forth motion, almost as though it's repeatedly making contact with someone or something standing directly in its path. Much like the girl featured earlier, Nick believes the robot detected an unseen presence blocking its way. Ever since that night, Nick has been deeply uneasy about the kitchen, but the only television in the house is in that room, so he has no choice but to go back. Then, on a separate night, while sitting alone watching TV, everything changes again.
So, I was watching my show, and after last night, I'm definitely not leaving these lights on. But I was watching my show, and there's nothing there.
This time, the Roomba is nowhere to be seen, yet the dogs are behaving exactly as before, their eyes seemingly locked onto something in the kitchen that no one else can perceive. Nick's grandfather passed away about a year ago and once confided that he believed he'd spotted Nick's grandmother standing in the darkened kitchen, only to find no one there when he got closer. A story that feels disturbingly relevant to everything happening now, and another reason the kitchen fills Nick with dread. Not long after the dogs fix their stare on the kitchen, the camera captures this.
Whoa. Whoa. Yo. Oh, that's cool.
Jesus!
The Roomba trails Nick across the living room before abruptly flipping itself over entirely on its own, leaving him completely rattled. Multiple viewers noted that the robot had been traveling in an unusually straight line, which isn't typical behavior for that type of device. And once again, rather than reversing when it reached the edge of the stairs the way it had done moments earlier, it simply kept going and fell off. This has pushed Nick to his absolute limit, and he's now completely convinced that something terrifying is haunting his home. He says the dogs now flat out refuse to go anywhere near the kitchen, and his grandmother, through it all, was mainly just worried about whether the Roomba was alright. Until any further updates come through, this one stands as a genuinely spine-chilling mystery. Though the clip was re-uploaded to TikTok, the original source has never been identified. What the footage shows, however, is nothing short of spine-tingling. According to the story, a mother arrived home late one night and left her son's bikes out in the garden. Everything appeared calm, maybe a little too calm. Not long after she stepped inside, her security camera fired off an alert, and what it had recorded was something genuinely baffling. Keep your eyes on the tricycle sitting in the center of the garden. Without any warning, it starts moving entirely on its own. Now, the usual skeptic response would be to blame the wind, but pay close attention. It begins to roll forward, then stops dead in its tracks. Then, gradually, the handlebars turn and it sets off again in a completely different direction. The whole thing looks exactly like someone unseen is at the wheel. There's not another soul in sight. The mother says watching this sent a chill straight through her, because that tricycle hadn't budged an inch before that moment. Ever since, she won't set foot outside once darkness falls. So what do you think? Was it just a stray gust of wind catching a lightweight toy? Or did something from the other side decide to take it for a late night spin? Late one night, a woman was at the hospital visiting her ill daughter when something strange showed up in the background of her footage. By their account, no one else was present on that floor at the time, which makes what happened all the more chilling. What the camera picked up has had viewers arguing over what it actually was.
Oh, hello. Very gorgeous.
A dark, shadow-like shape darts across the background in an instant. It happens so quickly you could easily miss it, yet there it is, caught on camera. Just one day after a series of devastating earthquakes tore through Venezuela, a man ventured inside a badly damaged structure to see what remained. As he pushed further into the wreckage, something lurking in the shadows stopped him cold. He reached for his phone and started filming right away. See for yourself what he found.
Qué locura, Dios mío. Aunque ande en valle de sombra de muerte, no temeré porque Dios mío está conmigo, siempre en la vida. Así son las cosas. Por eso camino, aunque muchos no lo crean y muchos crean que está.
Initially, what looks like a pair of eyes can be spotted staring back at him through a thin gap in the crumbling walls. Seconds later, a tall, dark figure briefly appears from an upper corner of the room before vanishing just as quickly. But the story doesn't end there. As he pressed on through the debris, a faint voice seemed to murmur in Spanish, "I don't want to leave." Some who've watched the footage are convinced it captured something supernatural tied to the tragedy, while others are certain there's a perfectly rational explanation. So what's your take? A Reddit user going by the name Chunky Metal posted a video to a ghost-themed forum online. He explained that the footage had been recorded by a friend who was visiting his uncle's place at the time. Everything looks perfectly normal at the start, the kind of mundane scene you wouldn't think twice about, until a single detail shifts the entire mood of the clip. Without any obvious reason, the front door begins to swing open on its own. Nobody appears to be standing there at first, but within moments, a dark figure materializes in the doorway. It doesn't step inside. It just stands there completely still, as though it's peering into the house, and if you look carefully, you can spot what appear to be two faintly glowing white eyes staring out from the darkness. The silhouette holds its position for several seconds before the footage cuts out, leaving far more questions than answers. Some viewers online were immediately reminded of legends surrounding shadow entities, mysterious apparitions said to lurk at the threshold without ever actually crossing it. Others are far less convinced. The door could have been pushed open from the outside, and the figure might simply be someone standing in low light, with a camera or lighting quirk making their eyes appear to glow. A stage setup or some post-production trickery can't be ruled out either, but regardless of how it was done, the image of your front door drifting open by itself to reveal a motionless figure silently staring inward is the kind of thing that doesn't leave your head easily. Adjusting to life alone in an unfamiliar house is already a challenge, but for a woman named Rosanna, the transition became something far more unsettling. Not long after she moved in with her child, she says strange things started occurring throughout the home. Because her family struggled to take her seriously, she made the decision to start recording what was going on as proof. According to Rosanna, picking up the camera didn't calm things down at all. If anything, she says the incidents have grown both more frequent and more intense since she started documenting them. Then 2 days later, in the dead of night, she's jolted awake by an unusual sound. She gets up to investigate, and what she finds waiting for her is enough to stop her cold. Following these incidents, Rosanna reached out to a religious figure in hopes of cleansing whatever presence she believed had taken hold of the house. But she says the intervention didn't bring the relief she was counting on. Within days, the activity allegedly escalated to an even more alarming level. the comments section, many viewers urged her to pack up and get out immediately before things deteriorate further. As far as they're concerned, something deeply hostile has settled into that house and may pose a genuine threat to both her and her child. Whether it's a string of unrelated coincidences, a carefully crafted hoax, or something genuinely sinister, one thing remains clear. Rosanna is nowhere close to finding peace in her new home. Coming up next, a man named Angelos claims that some deeply unsettling events have been unfolding inside his home in Tenerife, one of Spain's Canary Islands. He says that on one particular night, his dog Nala began behaving very strangely, as though something had absolutely terrified her. Concerned and curious, the family decided to pull up their security footage, and what they discovered was nothing short of disturbing. In the recording, little Nala appears distressed by something just out of frame, something completely invisible to us. She begins retreating across the room, visibly panicked. Then, in an instant, something seems to violently rip the collar clean from around her neck. Angelos later posted follow-up videos to back up the authenticity of the footage. He showed that the clip was pulled directly from his security camera system, and he even put on a demonstration proving that Nala's collar doesn't come off easily. It's not the kind of thing that just slips away on its own. Since that night, Angelo says his poor pup has been a total wreck. She refuses to be left by herself and now demands to sleep in the bedroom with the family every single night. As for Angelos himself, he's since installed 2 additional cameras throughout the house because he believes whatever tore that collar off never left, and he's determined to capture it on film. Sometimes, the most terrifying things a person can experience have absolutely nothing to do with the supernatural. Sometimes, the real danger comes from other human beings. A driver named Cherry, who goes by Betty Hughes' Confident Cherry 392, learned this firsthand while traveling down a road in Oregon. Cherry was heading home with 2 young kids in the backseat when something in the road ahead forced them to hit the brakes hard. Thankfully, their dashcam caught every moment of it. Initially, Cherry assumed the bicycle had simply rolled out into the road by accident, but it quickly became obvious that the man had placed it there deliberately. He may well have been staking out that spot, waiting for a vehicle that looked worth targeting. It wasn't until the man produced a baseball bat that Cherry fully grasped what was unfolding, and wasted no time throwing the car into reverse. By some stroke of luck, the road behind them was completely clear. Had another car been there, Cherry would have had nowhere to go. Escaping that situation was a close call, to say the least. But what comes next is a reminder that danger can find us even in moments when we believe we're completely on our own. 12:46 in the morning. Something terrifying allegedly jolts a girl awake inside her own bedroom. The clip itself was recorded on July 22, 2026, though the family's unease about this house stretches back considerably further. The daughter had already moved on, leaving her old bedroom sitting completely empty. The mother had been picking up on odd things throughout the house, so she decided to set up a security camera in that room to see whether anything was going on when no one was around. Then, while she was in there grabbing something out of the closet, the camera caught everything. She heads out of the room, and the moment she's gone, the closet door drifts open by itself. At first glance, nothing inside looks out of place. Then something drops without warning, and it startles her so badly she bolts straight out. A number of viewers think the basket might actually be the culprit, arguing the closet door could have nudged it on her way out. To account for that possibility, the whole thing was tested again.
This comment, because it has come up a lot, besides the fact that the doors are broken and they're bifold doors, and they do that. These doors don't just pop open all the time on their own. I get that they're bifold doors and they're spring-loaded, and that can happen, but it doesn't happen all the time. Especially if you've seen some of the other videos and the stuff we've been dealing with in this house since like 2018. Like, look, I've been standing here forever and nothing's happening. Like, they don't just pop open. So anyways, I did want to address this comment, so I'm just going to show you. So I'm opening this side just like I did the day when I was grabbing my bag and some clothes out of there. If you look up on the shelf, there is the sewing basket. It is right flush up against that back wall. I just want to show you the distance between the door, the closet door, and that shelf. Tell me how this door that is that far away from the shelf, like that far away from the shelf, clipped that and pulled it down.
But the strange history behind all of this runs much deeper. The family says that unsettling, seemingly paranormal events had been unfolding in this house as far back as 2018. Then in 2020, the daughter was still living in this very bedroom, which sits down in the basement. She had been reporting weird occurrences at night, and that's what prompted the family to put up a camera in the first place. At some point later, the mother was pulled out of sleep in the middle of the night. There was a knocking at the door, and then something tumbled out of the closet. She flipped the light on, but the room was completely empty. Even without any clear explanation, the whole experience shook her enough that she abandoned the room entirely and couldn't get back to sleep. Years of these incidents have piled up, and she still has no real answers. Whether there's something genuinely paranormal at work here or a far more mundane reason behind it all, the footage has never delivered a definitive conclusion. The mystery, for now, lives on inside those walls. What you're about to see comes from the YouTube channel displayed on screen right now. The channel is run by a guy named Benny, who primarily posted art and craft content for his audience. During one particular session, while filming a tutorial intended for his illustration class, he ended up recording something he never could have anticipated. See for yourself what his camera picked up.
Once you've finished both of your illustrations, the final step in the process is to prepare your work for a presentation. This will be a presentation either to a client or in front of the class itself. Presentation is often the most overlooked aspect of being an illustrator, but in order to be professional, you want to give both yourself and your work a professional image. So I'm going to show you how to create a cover sheet for your artwork. And a cover sheet is simply a sheet of paper that covers your artwork. It keeps it free of dust and spills that may get on it, but it also unifies the look, and especially if you have a multiple series of artworks, that gives your work professional image, and you're able to use it over and over again and keep it nice and clean. You can put your name on the cover sheet, you can put the project on the cover sheet, and when you go to present it to someone, they'll really show that you've put your effort into not only the illustrations that you've done, but also showing them that you care about your artwork. Some of the materials that you'll need to create a cover sheet are, of course, you'll need some scissors. You'll need some tape. I like to use the thick masking tape. You'll need some double-sided tape to put your image onto a mat board. You'll need, of course, your image and mat board, and a large piece of paper. Once you have your image mounted to the mat board, take your large piece of paper and place it over the image itself. You'll want to cut the paper so that it's slightly longer than the mat board your artwork is mounted to.
Roughly midway through the video, a cabinet situated behind him swings open and then slams itself shut, with no one anywhere near it. Benny has stated that he was completely alone in the house when this happened. He also noted that the place had always given him an uneasy feeling, like something about it was just off. That said, he never elaborated on any specific incidents or experiences beyond that. No follow-up content or updates have appeared on his channel since. So, where do you stand on this one? Is this a genuine paranormal event, or is there a more rational explanation hiding somewhere? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The following video was recorded inside a hospital at 3 a.m. by a man working the night shift. Someone in blue medical scrubs, stethoscope around his neck, carrying a red biohazard specimen bag while transporting lab samples across the building alone. He'd been narrating casually as he walked, almost talking himself through it, describing how much he dislikes this particular corridor at this hour, the way the patients are all asleep, the way the polished floors reflect the fluorescent lights in long, repeating streaks, and how the silence down here feels different from the silence everywhere else. Just a quiet, empty hallway stretching ahead of him, lined with parked wheelchairs on one side. Nothing out of place. Watch.
Okay, right now I'm taking labs just across the hospital. We have this really creepy hallway. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, it's 3 a.m. Just walking down this hallway. I mean, it's clean and stuff. It's just odd, I guess. I mean, yeah, I don't know. This time of night's always weird at night shift. Like patients tend to be asleep. It's pretty quiet, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't like how quiet it is down here. But yeah, this always takes so much time. It's really annoying. Big part of my shift. Oh, okay. Oh, nope. Okay. Don't know what's happening. Do you guys hear this? What the fuck? What? I think I should stop it. Okay, got it. Weird. I do not remember that being there. Yeah, look, there was no one. It just moved on its own, I guess. Yeah, going a different direction for sure. I do not like this. Yep. Nope.
First, every overhead light in the corridor suddenly flickers and dies, dropping him into near total darkness with only a faint glow visible at the far end. Then, as the lights stutter back on, a metallic scraping sound starts somewhere around the bend, and a gray two-tiered utility cart rolls out from around the corner on its own, picking up speed as it comes directly toward him, veering into the wall with a loud bang, before continuing down the center of the hall. He catches it with his free hand and stands there, genuinely rattled, saying he doesn't remember that cart being there at all. You can hear how quickly his voice shifts, from weary to shaken. Some believe malfunctioning fluorescent lights in older hospital wings can act as triggers for paranormal activity, disrupting whatever energy already exists in high-traffic spaces where death and trauma are routine. Others think the cart and the lights are connected, not coincidence, but sequence. What do you think caused that? This next clip was recorded inside a family home late at night by a man who was woken up by something he couldn't immediately explain. He grabs his phone and heads downstairs, narrating in Spanish as he goes, telling his viewers that someone or something is hammering on a door inside his house. The banging is aggressive, relentless, and fast, echoing through the entryway as he moves through the living room and toward a small hallway. He calls out, trying to get a response. Nothing answers. Then, he opens a utility closet, and the moment that door swings open, the knocking stops. Completely. Instantly. Watch.
Amigos, si están escuchando que están somatándome a una puerta. Están tocando la puerta. Vamos aquí. Hola. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Skeptics might argue a loose pipe or faulty appliance could produce rhythmic knocking, but that explanation struggles when the sound vanishes the exact moment the closet opens, as if whatever was making it knew it had been found. His reaction afterward, running back upstairs, gasping, collapsing into bed, doesn't read as performance. Some believe that kind of intelligent, responsive sound is a hallmark of a presence that isn't just passive. What was waiting behind that door? This next clip comes from a residential area filmed at around 3:15 in the morning, when the person behind the camera notices what appears to be someone standing outside the house, looking directly in through the window. At first, all they can see is a vague shape beyond the white vertical blinds, barely visible in the darkness. They move closer, trying to get a better look. Then they open the door and step outside to check. Watch. What's unsettling is that the person appears to be gone almost instantly. There was seemingly someone standing there looking through the blinds, yet when he goes outside to confront whoever it was, there's nobody there. No footsteps, no person disappearing down the street, nothing obvious that explains where they could have gone. And then there's the detail that makes this even stranger. The figure was reportedly dressed like a bride. Imagine waking up at 3:15 in the morning, looking through your window and seeing a woman dressed in a wedding gown standing outside your house, staring in through your blinds. You'd probably assume it was some kind of prank, a neighbor in costume, or someone who desperately needed help. But if you stepped outside seconds later and she had completely vanished, you'd probably be checking every corner of the property before going back inside. Paranormal folklore has plenty of stories about ghost brides. women said to appear in wedding dresses after dying before, during, or shortly after their weddings. Some legends describe them wandering the places connected to their lives, while others portray them as appearing along roads or near houses at night, almost as though they're still searching for something. There's no way to know whether this figure was actually a person, a trick of the darkness, or something more unusual. But the timing, the disappearance, and that unmistakable image of a bride standing outside a home in the middle of the night make this one especially difficult to forget. Now, in this next clip, a man is sitting in his car in the driveway on a rainy afternoon, genuinely baffled, because the lights inside his backyard shed have switched on by themselves and nobody's been out there. He's agitated, talking into his camera, insisting there's no one else home, no explanation, nothing that makes sense. And then, almost to prove the point to himself, he decides to run out there barefoot through the downpour and check it in person. He walks through the shed, shows off a Ring camera he's got mounted inside, and even points out some motion-activated cat balls he's placed up in the attic space as a makeshift detection system. Everything seems quiet. He calls out into the dark. Watch.
I'm not even kidding. Like at this point, I'm not joking. Nobody's here. Nobody's here. Pulled into the house. I mean, my shirt's not even soaking wet. Like, I just... Why is it just turning on like that? I don't understand. Like, what is going on inside of there? What could humanly be possible to turn a light on like that? It doesn't make any sense. Look, I'm gonna run out there real quick like I always do. And there's not gonna be anything, bro. Anything. Look, nobody's here at the house. Pouring down raining. No shoes on, just got back from the pool. Soaking wet. Windows open. I closed them because I knew it was gonna rain. And dog, like, completely on. Look, you would do that to turn them off. I got the Ring camera right there. Everyone's chirping about where's the camera, right there. And I fixed that. And there's my wife backing in right now. Nobody's here, bro. Who's here? Hello? Hello? Oh yeah, I've got cat balls up there. If there's movement, it'll show. Hello? Okay! Okay, we're out. We are out, sir.
A deep, raspy, guttural voice responds. Not his, not his wife's, not anything you'd expect to come from an empty shed. He bolts immediately, and you can hear the panic in every step. Some listeners have pointed to EVP phenomenon, the idea that certain entities can produce or manipulate sound in ways that register on recording equipment, but not always to the human ear in the moment. Others think whatever's been flipping those lights on has been waiting in there all along. What exactly answered him back? This next clip was recorded outdoors at night by a man and his friend, the kind of situation where everything seems fine until it suddenly isn't. The two of them are out in what looks like a rural area, complete darkness surrounding them, with only a flashlight cutting through. According to the audio, one of them, the camera holder, is already nervous before anything even happens, admitting out loud that he's scared. Watch.
I'm scared. Jacob, I hate you.
The light's gonna die. So whatever you gotta tell yourself, give me the gun.
A sharp two-note whistle rings out from somewhere in the darkness, and a man in a white long-sleeve shirt and a dark baseball cap immediately turns and bolts away from the camera. The camera holder, clearly shaken, shouts at his friend Jacob, assuming at first that Jacob was the one who whistled. But Jacob denies it. And that's where it gets difficult to dismiss, because neither of them seems to know where the sound came from. A whistle like that, deliberate, clear, two distinct notes, doesn't happen by accident. Some viewers believe it's the kind of signal associated with mimicry behavior, a trait frequently reported alongside dogman and skinwalker encounters, where an entity is said to imitate human sounds to lure or disorient. Others think it's simply someone else in the woods they couldn't see, but the sheer panic in both men's voices suggests whatever they heard didn't feel human in the moment. Then, there's the second piece of footage, recorded by a static security camera mounted on a residential porch, also at night in full infrared black and white. The porch is quiet and completely still. Nothing appears out of the ordinary. Watch. If you look closely near the tree, you'll notice what appears to be a dark humanoid figure standing partially concealed in the shadows. The most unsettling detail is the pair of bright points that appear where its eyes would be, catching the infrared illumination and seeming to glow directly toward the camera. This pairing is so creepy, a sound with no visible source followed by a figure with no obvious explanation. Paranormal communities sometimes connect unexplained whistles in remote areas with stories of entities that mimic human sounds, particularly folklore surrounding creatures such as the Dogman or so-called Skinwalker. The idea is that the sound isn't necessarily meant to communicate. It could be intended to make someone turn around, draw them towards something, or simply let them know they're being watched. This next clip was recorded on a home security camera on the night of December 17th of 2025 at around 8 p.m. inside what appears to be a child's bedroom. A young girl, clearly distressed, refuses to get into her bed, and when her mother comes in to check on her, the girl explains why. She says there's a monster. What makes this unsettling isn't the darkness or the grainy night vision footage. It's how specific and matter-of-fact she is about it. Kids say a lot of things, but there's something about the way she bolts across the room and hides under the bed frame that feels less like imagination and more like genuine fear of something she's perceived in that space. Watch.
She didn't want to go in her bed because of the monster.
Leave me alone. Never come back. Never come back. Amen. Amen. Come on, I got you.
The mother doesn't dismiss her. Instead, she walks her through a short prayer. Line by line, the girl repeats it back. For many viewers, this is actually the most affecting part. Some believe young children are far more sensitive to presences that adults have long since learned to ignore. You decide what that girl was actually sensing in there. Now, in this next clip, a man is alone at night inside what appears to be his home, or at least a building he's familiar with, when something begins demanding his attention in the worst possible way. It starts with knocking, not the casual kind, but the kind that comes in waves, building in intensity, and the kind that's followed by a voice that shouldn't be there. He's whispering into the camera, clearly already unsettled, when the knocks grow more frantic and a distant voice, faint, muffled, impossible to place, says a single word in Spanish, ayuda, help. He moves down the long, narrow hallway toward a dark doorway with a blue painted frame, pointing the camera into the blackness inside. Watch.
Hola. ¿Quién es? Ay, güey, están tocando. ¿Quién es? Ay, güey. ¿Quién? No. ¿Le estarán pegando a alguien? ¿Hola? ¿Quién eres? Oh, la madre. Ay, cabrón, ay, cabrón, ay, cabrón. No mames, no mames, no mames. Ay, güey. Ay, cabrón. Ay, güey, ay, güey, ay, güey. Ay, no mames. Ay. Ay, hijo de mi vida. No mames, sácate. No mames, no mames. Amor, amor.
What makes this footage so difficult to dismiss is the disembodied call for help, followed moments later by a childlike whisper of "daddy" from nowhere visible, followed by aggressive physical banging that responds directly to the man's presence. Some believe this kind of escalating pattern, first sound, then voice, then physical force, is characteristic of poltergeist activity. Others take a darker interpretation, pointing to the ayuda, the cry for help, as a possible luring tactic, something mimicking distress to draw the witness deeper into the building, closer to whatever was waiting at that doorway. If you've spent any time in Latin American folklore, you'll know there are traditions stretching back centuries describing entities that call out in familiar or desperate voices specifically to pull the living toward them. The timing of that bang at the window, the precise moment he looked through the curtain, suggests something that was aware of him, tracking him, reacting to him. Not residual, not passive, something that knew exactly where he was. So what was moving through that building with him that night? And whatever said ayuda, was it really asking for help? The following video was recorded by a man who's been documenting what he describes as persistent and escalating paranormal activity centered around his bedroom, a room he says has never felt quite right, and which he's been actively trying to investigate on his own. In the first clip, he walks through his bedroom during the day, filming the space with his phone as he pans slowly across the bed, the nightstand, the bookshelves, the window with the blinds drawn. Nothing unusual is visible, but then he asks a question out loud. Is there anybody in here? And the room responds. Watch.
So this is where I've been getting most of the activity from, right here in my bedroom. Just looks like a normal bedroom. I don't know. Is there anybody in here? Is there anybody in this room?
Right after he speaks, a faint voice says, "Get out." And then he asks again, "Is there anybody in this room?" And it says, "Get out," a second time, just as clearly as the first. He says he didn't hear a single thing while he was filming. It wasn't until he watched the footage back that he caught it. So what was answering him in that room? Now, his next clip came after viewers started picking apart his earlier footage, and one comment claimed there was clearly someone lying in the bed. Take a look.
No, there's not. It's actually pillows. So my girl sleeps with pillows around her.
He immediately pulls back the comforter and duvet, revealing nothing more than a stack of pillows arranged beneath the blankets. No hidden person, no prank, just an attempt to clear up what many viewers thought was the obvious explanation. But according to him, the real activity wasn't happening in the bed. It was happening in the room itself, and he had more footage to prove it. One night, he captured something that he still can't explain. Watch. A tall, dark shape stands motionless in the corner of the room, partially illuminated by the glow of the television. It has a distinct head and shoulders silhouette, enough to resemble a person standing silently in the darkness. Some viewers argued that the figure could simply be a shadow cast by furniture or an object positioned just outside the camera's frame. That's a reasonable explanation. But among paranormal researchers, encounters like this are sometimes referred to as silent observation, the idea that an entity remains motionless while watching rather than actively interacting with its environment. What makes the footage more unsettling is that this wasn't the first time he'd seen that shape. Watch closely.
So my cat's been watching that door for a while now. Oh. nightmare. Freakiest place I've ever been. Butter, get out here. Oh, I can't do it anymore.
When the door swings fully open and the lens pans into the dark room beyond, something appears to be sitting on the floor, a dark human-shaped silhouette, perfectly still. Throughout folklore, shadow-like entities appear in countless traditions. Some compare them to stories of the jinn found throughout the Middle East, being said to exist alongside humanity while remaining largely unseen. Others point to legends like the Choctaw Nalusa Falaya, often described as a dark presence associated with fear, isolation, and places people instinctively avoid. Whether those stories have any connection to what appears in this footage is impossible to know, but what many viewers found difficult to dismiss was Bart's reaction. Animals noticing something before people do is one of the most commonly reported details across alleged paranormal encounters, and the cat's attention was fixed on that doorway long before it opened. Rather than filming everything himself, he began setting up his phone and leaving it recording while he slept. What it captured may be the most disturbing footage of all. Watch. In the darkness, the same silhouette appears again, only this time it doesn't seem content to remain in the corner. The figure tries to come closer, but the moment he notices it, he turns on the light, and it's gone. No trace, no explanation, nothing. It was as if the figure had never been there at all. After sharing the footage, many viewers encouraged him to keep doing exactly that, turning on lights whenever the figure appeared. They believed the light itself might be disrupting whatever was manifesting, so he tried again. Watch. This time, instead of reaching for a lamp, he grabs the television remote and switches on the screen, flooding the room with light. The instant the television comes on, the figure disappears again, and that's where the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. The same room, the same silhouette, the same reaction to light, over and over. Whether it's a trick of darkness, a series of coincidences, or something genuinely unexplained, the activity always seems to follow the same rules. The figure appears when the room is dark, remains at a distance watching, and vanishes the moment light fills the space. Whatever this is, it keeps returning to the room where he first reported activity. And the biggest question isn't whether he'll see it again, it's why it keeps coming back. Because if turning on the lights really does make it disappear, you have to wonder whether the figure fears being seen. This next video captures another deeply unsettling situation, this time inside a woman's home where something had quietly been appearing for weeks without ever fully revealing itself. It started as a pattern, something that happened so often it became impossible to ignore. Watch closely.
Too scared to open my door.
In the reflection of her glass door, you can see what looks like the outline of someone standing outside, completely still, as if they were waiting, not knocking, not moving, just standing there. Her dogs noticed it too, and sometimes they barked aggressively toward the door, their instincts telling them something was wrong, and other times they simply froze, staring in complete silence. This continued every other evening, always at roughly the same time, and the longer it went on, the more it began to feel less like coincidence and more like intention. Eventually, curiosity got the better of her. One evening, determined to prove it was just a neighbor or someone passing by, she walked up to the door and opened it without hesitation. But the moment she looked outside, there was no one there. No footsteps, no one walking away, just empty space. And this is where many people believe the real mistake happened. It's often said that opening the door to something unknown can be seen as an invitation. Not a verbal one, but a symbolic one, an act of acknowledgement, and a moment where the boundary between inside and outside is willingly broken. What makes this even more unsettling is what happened next. After that night, the figure stopped appearing completely, the reflections were gone, and the dog stopped reacting. Everything returned to normal, and for a while she believed it was over. But weeks later, something new began.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
Gabe, it's your mom. You should come out. You've been in there for so long. Gabe, come out. Gabe. Gabe, it's your mother. You should come out.
Then what's your name then?
She started hearing voices inside the house. At first, they were faint and distant, easy to dismiss, but over time they became clearer. Sometimes the voice sounded like her, other times like her friends, and then one day it sounded like her mother. That was the moment it crossed a line. In the video, she confronts it directly, asking it what her mom's name is, and for a moment, it went quiet. But many viewers pointed out something deeply disturbing about that interaction. Entities often described as mimics are believed to imitate voices not randomly, but strategically, choosing voices that create emotional trust. And responding to them, acknowledging them, or attempting communication can sometimes strengthen their presence, making them more aware that they've been noticed, and more willing to continue. But whatever was on the other side of that door had been confidently calling, knocking, performing. And the moment it was asked one simple question, it had nothing. No name, no answer. Just quiet. And that alone is terrifying, because it suggests whatever was out there knew it had been caught, knew the performance had failed, and simply stopped. Whether each of these clips is genuine or staged, the one thing they share is that particular flavor of dread. The idea that something in your own home might be wearing a familiar face, speaking in a familiar voice, trying to get you to open a door you absolutely should not open. So what do you do when you can't trust what's on the other side? Shortly after that confrontation, she made the decision to leave the house entirely. She never confirmed exactly what happened next, but many believe the silence wasn't the end. Now, we can only hope that whatever forced her to leave that home didn't follow her to the next one. The following video was captured somewhere in Mexico, where a man named Dav noticed something deeply unsettling at his best friend's house, a property that is still under construction. For weeks, people living nearby had been complaining about strange things happening around the building. Some mentioned hearing loud noises late at night when no one was supposed to be there. A few neighbors even said they felt watched whenever they passed by the place after dark. One morning, Dav and his friend decided to go check the house for themselves, hoping to put the rumors to rest. Dav stayed outside, keeping watch near the entrance, while his girlfriend Gabriella insisted on going inside. She was excited to document the interior and show their friend how the construction was coming along. Watch closely.
Desde que llegué a la casa le dije a Gabriela que había alguien ahí. Chucho se fue a asomar, no. Y se ve bien puto raro, miren. Tiene una pinche jeta. Tiene los ojos brillosos. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Sí estás grabando? ¿Estás grabando? ¿Y no grabaste nada? Ahorita te enseño el video para que veas. Sobres. Cuidado. A ver, ahorita vemos el video de Gaby. Voy a grabar por si.
The figure Dav saw didn't look like a person who wandered in by mistake. It appeared oddly shaped, standing unnaturally still, and what terrified viewers the most were its glowing eyes. Many people familiar with paranormal folklore pointed out something chilling. Houses under construction are often believed to attract spirits because they're considered unfinished spaces, places without protection, history, or grounding yet. Some say these locations act like open doors, especially when the land itself has an unknown past. Others believe spirits are drawn to new structures because they disrupt old energies buried beneath the ground. So was this just an optical illusion inside an unfinished building? Or did Dav see something that had already been there long before the house was ever built? For now, no one has a clear answer, and this encounter remains deeply unsettling and unexplained. The following clips were recorded by the same woman over what appears to be a string of increasingly unsettling days at her home, a place that, on the surface, looks completely ordinary, but where something seems to have made itself comfortable. It starts simply enough. She's outside in her backyard on an overcast autumn day, walking through the dry leaves, filming a dead tree that caught her eye, gnarled, full of dark holes, a little out of place among the others. She says she doesn't know what the metal bracket bolted to the trunk is for. She's curious, unbothered, almost cheerful. But as she crouches near the base of that tree, among the red leaves and the fallen branches, something catches her attention. Watch.
So I have a bunch of trees in my backyard, but there's this one that doesn't look like the other trees. So I'm gonna go check that one out because it has pretty red leaves or flowers next to it, and it's interesting. I'm wearing my work boots, so in case my dog runs off, I'm not chasing after her barefoot. So here's the tree. It's dead, but it's very pretty. And there's these weird things that are in it. I don't know what that's for. And it has crazy holes that I like. But here's the pretty red things. Flowers. No, they're leaves. Those are leaves. Oh. I like you. What is that?
She reaches down and lifts a clean white animal skull from the leaves. Empty eye sockets, prominent canines, not decomposing, just sitting there like it had been placed. A clean skull lying at the base of a dead tree isn't automatically sinister, and she doesn't treat it that way. But for viewers who've seen what comes next in her footage, many believe it fits a pattern. Some think it's nothing more than a fox or raccoon that passed nearby. Others think the placement, at the root of a dead tree, in a yard where so much else would soon go wrong, is too deliberate to dismiss entirely. That changed everything. Back inside the house, around the same period, she captures something harder to rationalize. The dog, Luna, is already alert, running down the hallway toward a set of closed double doors. Watch.
Luna, come on.
The sleigh bells hanging from the doorknobs are shaking violently and ringing loud and fast, with nothing visible touching them. No draft, no person, nothing in contact with the doors. Luna runs straight toward them, which is the detail that gets me. Dogs typically flee from things that startle them, not charge toward them, which some viewers interpret as Luna trying to confront whatever's on the other side. The bells stop almost the instant the front door opens. That abrupt silence is almost more unsettling than the ringing itself. A few days later, with a friend or family member visiting, things escalate inside the kitchen. The two women are talking casually, one of them chatting to a cat sitting on the counter, when something interrupts the whole room. Listen closely.
What you doing on the camera? Chilling here, being a kitty cat.
Did you do that?
A loud bang with no visible source, and then a bundle of what looks like dry spaghetti launches upward from behind a dining chair and arcs across the room, sending the woman in purple scrambling backward and nearly out of frame. The cat flinches. The camera operator asks, "Did you do that?" And the woman says simply, "No." Short answer, no explanation. Skeptics argue a person hidden behind the chair could have thrown it, but the trajectory, up and outward from floor level, is difficult to account for without being caught on camera. Poltergeist activity, according to those who study it, often follows this pattern: small, disruptive, physical. Objects moved or thrown, not by a ghost in the traditional sense, but by a kind of displaced energy sometimes associated with periods of high stress or emotional tension in a household. Whatever the cause, the activity isn't slowing down. Caught on her Nest security camera at 11:23 a.m., the footage shows her lying on the couch in pink pajamas when the entire room is rattled. Watch. A sharp, loud bang from somewhere off camera, silent, percussive, echoing, jolts her straight up, and she runs out of the room within seconds, disappearing through a background doorway. The camera shakes with the impact. There's no visible source, no falling object in frame, nothing displaced in the room itself. She doesn't come back on screen. What's compelling about this one is that it's a security camera. She didn't choose to film this moment. It was recorded automatically, which makes staging it considerably harder to argue. The same day or around it, Luna is standing on her hind legs at the window, visibly agitated, when the woman notices the bathroom faucet is running at full blast. She turns it off and walks back to the living room. Then, it happens again. Watch.
And water's on. She's flipping out.
Holy crap, Mom! What are you eating? Mom, really feel the purpose. I'll probably feel better.
Literally just turned back on as soon as I sat down.
I don't see the force.
Oh my god. Luna.
She's barely sat down when the water turns back on by itself, audible from a different room, and she has to go shut it off a second time. Then the doorbell rings clearly, and when she checks the window and the porch, there's nobody there. Not across the street, not on the path, not near the mailbox. Luna is already at the door before she gets there. Some viewers think this cluster of events, the faucet, the bell, the dog's fixation on unseen things, points to an intelligent presence, one that's interacting with the house rather than just haunting a specific room. Others suggest a plumbing fault for the faucet and a technical glitch for the doorbell, but the timing, back to back in the same clip, makes the mundane explanations feel strained. The last clip shifts the setting outdoors at dusk to a dirt path bordered by dark trees. Luna has already appeared in several of these clips, reacting before her owner does, and in this one that pattern reaches its most extreme point. The woman is walking Luna on the leash through what looks like an open field at the edge of the tree line when Luna stops cold, locks her gaze on something ahead in the darkness, and refuses to move. Watch.
Luna. 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 What? Go home. Luna, go home. Come on. No, 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 no. Luna, come on. Stop.
After a long, still moment of staring into the dark, Luna bolts forward with enough force to pull the leash completely out of the woman's hand and runs into the field. The woman calls her back urgently. Luna, go home. No, no. But Luna stays out in the dark, circling at a distance, occasionally stopping to look back toward the tree line as though tracking something. What dogs detect that cameras can't is the part of this footage that sits with you. Whether it's a scent, a sound outside human range, or something else entirely, Luna's behavior across all of these clips, the bells, the window, the porch, the field, follows the same shape. She knows something is there before her owner does, and whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The following video was recorded by a man who was working a delivery run late at night when his route took him past a cemetery. The kind of moment most people would shrug off, except this time it didn't let him go. He's driving an SUV, dashcam running in split screen mode showing both the road ahead and the interior of the car, and you can see him glance over at the fence line as he sits at a red light, muttering quietly about the cemetery next to him. He keeps driving, keeps his composure, tells himself it's nothing. And then something enters his car. Watch.
Doing my usual Uber eating, dropping off some food. I swear, this our whole address gotta be set by the cemetery. If I see this again, I'm just not gonna accept it. So I'll tell you that. I'm not tripping. No. I'm not tripping. So, I'm driving off the DoorDash. The Uber eating. I can't even get my daggone company straight. And you're gonna see a vibration. You're gonna see tapping at the window. You're definitely gonna hear it. Hell no. Hell no. Tripping. No, I'm not tripping. Oh, hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no. Okay. What the? Why? What the? No. Oh hell, what the fuck? Shit, I mean, shit. Hell, no, hell, nope, no.
There are 3 separate moments in this footage, and each one is harder to dismiss than the last. The first is the subtlest, a faint translucent shape in the backseat, there for barely a second before it's gone, and his gasp is immediate and unscripted. He pulls over near the cemetery, gets out to check the car, and that's when the second moment hits. A shoe on the discarded cardboard box moved. But the third moment is arguably the most unsettling. Back inside the car, his car didn't start, and while he was trying to figure out why, one of the doors opened itself. Some who've watched this point to the escalating nature of the encounters. Subtle entry, then external manifestation, then direct interference with the car's electronics. As behavior consistent with what some paranormal traditions describe as an attachment in transit, a presence that latches onto a person rather than a location. Others think the proximity to the cemetery is the key detail. There's a long-held belief across multiple cultures that spirits tied to burial grounds are territorial, and that passing too close, especially at night, can invite something to follow. What do you think crossed into that car? The following videos were recorded by a man who had just finished construction work on a house that had been sitting completely empty for months. But one day, the slats of the blinds push apart from the inside 3 separate times, creating a V-shaped gap. And a dark shape, consistent with fingers, briefly appears in that opening before the blinds snap back into place. No one was there. The house had been vacant, and he insists no person was inside when this was filmed. Some viewers chalked it up to air pressure or a draft catching the slats at just the right angle. Others weren't buying it, pointing out the deliberate, repeated nature of the movement. 3 times, same motion, same spot, as if whatever was on the other side of those blinds kept coming back to look out. That detail is hard to dismiss. Then, it got worse. Listen closely.
Hey! Missy? Miss? That looks fucking weird. Huh. That's weird. What the frick is going on here, brother?
A loud, sharp thump rocks the space at around the 11-second mark, and right after it, the night vision on the security camera flickers completely off before snapping back on. He stops, startled, calls out, "No answer." Then, as he moves deeper down the hall, a long groaning sound, low, drawn out, with no visible source anywhere in that empty building. Skeptics argue an unfinished structure naturally settles and shifts, especially at night when temperatures drop. But the sequencing here is what makes that harder to accept. The sounds don't drift or fade the way passive settling does. They escalate, one after another, almost like something in that house was making itself known on purpose. What would you do in this situation?